Hey, what's up? My name is Steve. If this is your first time here and you want to get started in Bitcoin, grow your trading knowledge, and all sorts of other crypto-related stuff, start now by subscribing and clicking that bell so you don't get left behind.
Excellent. So with VSystems, I think let's start with helping our audience understand who Sonny is and how that, Sonny King and what his vision was and how that kind of plays into the VSystems ecosystem, and then a little more then about what you're trying to do at VSystems.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Sonny King, very legendary, very influential blockchain developer in the early days of the space. He actually invented the proof of stake consensus mechanism, which is very important because the whole space, aside from kind of Bitcoin and some of the older legacy coins, the whole space is really moving, towards the proof of stake direction with Ethereum and what they're trying to do, Cosmos and the staking there, and so Sonny King invented proof of stake with Purecoin because he saw kind of Bitcoin as, wasteful and, there was some energy consumption, long-term energy consumption problems. So the proof of stake was kind of like a solution to that. And so he rolled that out in 2012-13 when he launched Purecoin. Purecoin, actually made it to number 3 on CoinMarketCap in 2014. And then Sonny King did PrimeCoin, which was kind of like a mining for good initiative. And it put that kind of energy burn to use and tried to find prime numbers, which is important in some math stuff. And then Sonny King kind of disappeared for a couple of years. His name is Sonny King. It's like Satoshi. It's like a pseudonym. So we don't know who exactly he is. We believe he is an Asian American blockchain developer that kind of got into Bitcoin in the early days of this.
Oh, so you've not even met him then?
Oh, okay.
I've talked to him on email a little bit.
Okay.
No one, not him in person. No.
Well, so
are you sure that Sonny King is not Satoshi, by the way? Because I mean, I'm asking because Purecoin.
I know I was going to ask the same question.
Purecoin is built for those people who don't know much about the blockchain world. So we'll say this: back in the early day, there were a couple of coins that ran on the same algorithm. Purecoin was one of them. Namecoin was another one, and of course, Bitcoin and Purecoin both ran on the same algorithm. So, did it ever cross your mind that maybe he's just masquerading as Sonny King now? I mean, sorry, Sonny, you might be watching this, but we're curious. And we're putting Dave on the spot. Sorry.
To invent proof of stake and Bitcoin would be even more impressive. So maybe, who knows?
Yeah, but you know how it is. Once you get in the zone, starting to invent things, and you say this is cool, but I wonder if we could do this too. It spirals. I mean, good inventors keep inventing.
Mm-hmm.
This is very true. And so the staking economy is actually approaching 25 billion by the end of 2019, which is roughly, a quarter of Bitcoin's market cap. So staking in my mind is kind of catching up to, the relevance of Bitcoin.
Right.
So then Sonny disappeared for a couple of years, and then he came back in 2016, bringing together some top data scientists and mathematicians that, he had kind of connected with in the early days of the space, brought them together to re-architect blockchain and decentralized finance with the VSystems native blockchain platform. And kind of the biggest kind of new invention or the biggest new twist with VSystems, one of the things is the consensus mechanism, which is called Supernode proof of stake, which is sort of similar to delegated proof of stake, where like the individual coin owners, coin holders down to even one token, they can mint or lease that token to supernodes. Right now there's 15 supernodes that secure the network. It can expand to 60, and once it expands to 60, each block is a 1 second. So the blockchain becomes like a clock, which will be good for developers, DApp developers too. And so the supernode proof of stake is very egalitarian because everyone can participate in kind of the growth and the growth in the inflation in the network. where the supernodes kind of compete with each other for stake from the community. And so they share about 80% of the block reward with the leasee. And Sonny King also, with the team of developers in China, kind of pioneered a very sophisticated, the best I've seen, cold minting, hot, cold wallet, Android, iPhone pair. Pair of apps. So there's a hot wallet app and a cold wallet app. And you can download the cold wallet. You can load your seed on there offline. And then you can, it's real slick. You can scan it with QR codes and, generate the offline transaction. Just a couple clicks. Anyone can do it real easy.
That's
the Supernode proof of stake, the cold minting, these are some of the cool things with VSystems.
So let's just kind of talk about each of those different components so people don't understand what we mean by that. So when we talk about a supernode, how would you guys describe a supernode from the standpoint of what VSystems is doing?
So the supernode, the website, our website is v.systems, and from v.systems, you can get to VSYS. That's the token ticker, VSYS. VSYSrate.com lists the supernode and the supernode candidates. It's a good way to sort of, create network effects by, doing these supernode partnerships, and then kind of the supernodes in turn promote it to their investors and their community. And it's just a nice, in the early days of the space where everyone I think is kind of at the infrastructure level competing for the best infrastructure play, the network effects in the team and in the supernodes and the partnerships, I think this is the most important stuff right now. So it's cool to see VSys kind of coming out of the gate with all these strong partnerships and stuff like that.
That's very cool. So, I mean, when we think about a supernode, I started thinking about the Libra type problem of, giving few people control over a huge amount of the consensus or the control of the network. But that's certainly not what's happening when you're describing supernodes in your environment, is it?
Yeah. Because it comes down to the individual leasee, and so if there is a bad actor, the system's going to pick it up right away, and then in theory, all the stake would be removed from that supernode, and then they would lose a lucrative job forever, so they would be bounced. And it was the first time I heard the similar concept was when I talked about the delegate proof of stake, that he kind of his twist on it, and it just worked for me because it's consensus, but it's consensus of 17 to 20 people, but it's really more than that, because if those 17 to 20 people make a mistake, they're gone immediately. They burn their reputation, they lose a lucrative job, and so they're gone. And the network kind of keeps functioning. So consensus effectively is achieved, and to me, it's just as strong as Bitcoin's consensus, because this stuff has kind of worked for a couple of years now.
Got it. So then if we get into the delegated proof of stake, so I mean, some people are familiar with the concept of staking, but how do we get into delegated? What does that typically mean for you guys in terms of what you're trying to do?
So on VSystems, we call it minting or leasing. And so you can, you have tokens in your hot wallet, or we even, have a partnership with KuCoin where you can just hold VSys in your account, and they do what's called soft staking. So they run the node, and then they share the block reward with you. And they actually, for the next couple months, they're going to give you a little higher rate. So I've moved, a little bit of VSys to KuCoin to kind of just see what that rate is and how it compares to the rate on the, on the regular leasing side of things.
Cool. So I think what I really want to understand personally is a little bit more about what VSystems is trying to achieve or do. I mean, it's for people who don't understand protocol or the infrastructure layer, because, infrastructure is what drives everything. Can you give us just kind of a rundown of what VSystems is trying to do because it says on your website for the financial services industry or for financial purposes. So just kind of give us a rundown of some of the things that we could expect would be ways that the VSystems environment or network would be used for that would be that people could comprehend and understand in terms of what it's doing?
So what's coming out very, very soon is it actually just was put into effect last week. The smart contract platform called Euclid. It just went live at the 6.1 million block height, and now we're kind of testing the hot and cold wallet, testing the hot wallet out with these smart contract features. The first kind of killer use case is going to be one click create a token with one click from your hot wallet. And so you guys could create like the coin chat token, and you could give it out to people. You could create like 1,000 of them. You could give it out to people, and then they can redeem it for like an hour of your time, or meet you for lunch or something.
Oh, that's really cool.
So we're really trying to bring the barrier of token creation, down to just nothing, just to one click. So that's kind of the.
So for example, with us launching our book now, and maybe people want to ask us questions or dig into more details about the how-to stuff, then we could just issue out some tokens on the show, and people could use those tokens to gain access to a webinar or something, for example.
Exactly, and I think it's going to be. It's going to be easier on VSys than any other platform. So that's kind of the goal. It's just like really stupid, simple token creation, and then from the way the tokens are created are with a specific set of non-turn complete smart contracts that are being kind of hard forked into the the new iteration of VSystems. And so very important that it's non-turn complete, because we've seen the turn completeness of Ethereum kind of lead to some security vulnerabilities and some issues back a couple of years ago. So the non-turn complete is important because it's more in theory it's more secure. So we're giving developers, dApp developers, a very specific set of tools to create a token. One of the things that they're going to be able to do with their token on VSystems, which is really, really cool because it kind of plays into this like old financial world, is the ability to do like the stock split and reverse stock split functionality.
Okay, cool.
You'll be able to do that with the VSys token. So for example, Bitcoin's getting really expensive. Maybe that's a barrier to entry to some people. Theoretically, kind of by the perception of, Bitcoin's 10,000, that's too expensive. Well, what you could do if it was on VSys, you could split it. So you could do a 10-to-1 split. Everyone gets 10 of them everyone gets 10x in their wallet, and then the price would just fall to, the price would relatively fall to 1,000.
Right.
The other way around, like Kin or some of these tokens, like, trading for fractions, a thousandth of a penny, it's just kind of confusing. So maybe you could like reverse split up to get it to a penny. So one thing I've kind of thought of is, maybe someone tries to create like a stable token, like in theory that kind of mimics like credit card points, where it's always worth a penny. It's always worth like 1.4 cents. And if it gets too high, you split it. If it gets too low, you split it. But like you just keep splitting it to like give that stable value. So maybe we see a big killer dApp kind of come out of that concept or something.
That's interesting.
But with the tokens on V, we're working with 3 large Chinese-based projects. Each has millions of users. One of them is a VPN, and we're working with them to launch a token. And so a year from now, their token on VSys could theoretically be in the hands of 50 million people. That's kind of the.
So would you run an environment where you have each node running an access point for VPN, for example? For a really distributed sort of VPN through.
Yeah, that's sort of like kind of their play on it. Like we're working with them on the white paper now, and like they're kind of going after that decentralized distributed VPN, but they would leverage VSys just for the simple token creation. We can probably help them get it listed on exchanges because wherever VSys is listed, we're going to try to also list these big projects.
So your goal is really to get projects to use your token, and you're creating, shall I say, like an environment where people can do different things with the coin, depending on their business model. So if you're in the financial model, as you described, you might be trying to create stable environment. You might be trying to just run a coin based on supply demand curves and based on what we call in banking, things like corporate actions, where a stock split or a stock reverse might be the case with coin. But every project running would still be using your coin though, right?
Yep.
So
and then
So how can you have? I'm sure I was kind of leading down a path. So just bear with me for 1 second. So because what I'm thinking